Hi friends, before we talk about amphibians, I just wanted to let you know that I'm so proud of you for watching all the literacy videos and for completing all of your literacy assignments. Your teachers and I are so proud of you, and we love looking at all of your work on Seesaw. We can really tell that you're working so hard at home, so great job. Well, today in literacy, we're going to be talking about amphibians. Amphibians is the last animal group that we're going to be learning about before our animal project. You will learn a lot more about our animal project next week. So today we're going to watch a quick video about amphibians, and in this video you're going to learn about why these animals are all called amphibians and what they all have that's in common.
Hello everybody. Today we're going to look at a truly amazing group of vertebrates. When they're born, they usually live in water, but when they grow up and become adults, they spend most of their time on land. We present the amphibians. All amphibians have some common characteristics that you should know about, so you can recognize and differentiate them. Amphibians have thin, bare skin with no hairs and scales to protect them. Most have 4 legs and a membrane between their toes that allows them to move much better in the water. Amphibians are oviparous, but they don't incubate their eggs after laying them. They abandon them and don't care for their young. Not very good parents, huh? When they hatch, they're small larvae and live in water. Slowly, very slowly, their bodies go through a process called metamorphosis. During this process, the body of the amphibian changes. Their front and rear legs, their limbs grow, and their heads and their bodies develop, so they finally look like their parents. In the early stages of their lives, amphibians breathe through gills. But when they grow up and become adults, they breathe with their lungs. The problem is, their lungs are very small and cannot get all the oxygen they need to live. But nature is very clever and has solved this problem by allowing them to breathe and get the oxygen they need through their skin. That's why they need to be near water to keep their skin wet. In the early stages of their life, some amphibians are herbivores, but when they grow up, most become carnivores. So they need to hunt. Some have a long, sticky tongue they shoot out to capture prey. Aren't amphibians fascinating and also a bit strange? So let's remember the most important characteristics. Amphibians are vertebrates. They're oviparous. In the early stages of their life, they live in water as larvae. But slowly they change until they look like their parents. This process of change is called metamorphosis. Amphibians are carnivores, so they have to hunt to eat. They have thin, smooth skin and breathe through their skin and with their lungs. Amphibians are so interesting, aren't they? Goodbye for now, everyone, and don't forget to subscribe to Happy Learning.
Now we're going to talk about amphibians. In the video, it said that amphibians have a vertebrate. What does that mean, vertebrate? It means they have a backbone. Mammals are vertebrates, reptiles are, and so are birds. So all of the animal groups that we have talked about in kindergarten so far are vertebrates. Amphibians are also oviparous. What does oviparous mean? This is a word that you learned when we talked about birds, oviparous. Oviparous means that they lay eggs like birds do, except amphibians lay eggs in the water. Then, when they lay their eggs in the water, amphibians go through something called metamorphosis. Can you say metamorphosis? Metamorphosis is a process that amphibians' body goes through. And in this process, amphibians go from being a small egg and their body changes and develops until they become an adult. And they look like their parents and they no longer look like the little egg that was in the water. So what happens with amphibians is they're born in the water. And then as their body's changing and going through metamorphosis, they're becoming adults, and then they live on land and they no longer live in the water. Now, when they're living in the water, they have gills. Why would they need gills when they're living in the water and they're young still? They need these gills because gills helps them breathe when they're in the water. And as their body is changing and they're becoming adults, they develop lungs. So they weren't born with lungs, but their body is able to go through a change where they go from having gills to lungs that will help them breathe. Now, the video said that their lungs are so small. And that their lungs are so small that they can't just use their lungs for breathing because they don't get enough oxygen. So they have to also breathe through their skin. So their skin is another way that they're able to breathe and get oxygen. And a lot of times amphibians will return to the water because their body must be moist and wet. Their skin needs to be wet in order for them to breathe. So amphibians breathe from their lungs and through their skin. So they need both in order to get enough oxygen to live. Speaking of their moist skin that they need to help them breathe, so moist meaning wet, they also have bare skin. Bare skin means that they don't have hair on their body or fur. They don't have feathers or scales. So it's very bare. Their body also has membranes between their toes. So between their toes, they have something called a membrane. Do you remember what that means? So a membrane is what helps them be able to swim when they go into the water. And remember, they live on land, but they do return to water to help their body stay moist. We also learned that when amphibians are adults, they are carnivores. What does carnivore mean? A carnivore eats meat. Now, here's some examples of some amphibians. A newt, and there's so many different colors of newts and sizes of all of these amphibians. And then there's a salamander, a frog, and a toad. If you would like, you can use one of these pictures for your adjective amphibian activity that you're going to do. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to pick one amphibian, and I chose a salamander. A salamander is a type of amphibian. What I did was I wrote 5 adjectives, and I wrote them in a sentence. I circled the adjectives today. My first sentence says, it has yellow spots. And if you look at my picture, you can see those spots. And the adjective is yellow. It's telling me what color it is. It has a long tail. Long is an adjective. It's telling me the size of the tail. It has 4 legs. 4 is my adjective. It's telling me how many this salamander has. It has a vertebrate. Now, I learned that from the video. And it has moist skin. That is something else I learned, that they have that moist skin, and that is what helps them be able to breathe, for their skin to be able to take in that oxygen. So today, I want you to choose one amphibian and try to write your adjectives in a sentence. If you notice in my picture, I didn't just draw the newt, I drew the newt outside on grass. After you're done, submit your assignment on Seesaw.